90.7 KPFK, Los Angeles.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire, where intimacy means insight, uncovering the truth about sex and relationships, delving into the science of seduction, your sex, your stories, and everything in between. This is Unzipped with Carrie Harrison.
And it is Unzipped, Carrie Harrison, with you, your new best friend, along with the great Renee Yawarski. I like to say her word is a single monosyllabic acronym, but I won't tonight. I will actually say it the proper way. Live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Carrie Harrison Substack or Carrie Harrison YouTube so we can stay connected when you arrive at your destination. That's the beauty of living in LA. You live in a car. You can also easily find us live at kpfk.net. Just go to kpfk.net. Also, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at carrieharrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of this entire show, plus access to clips and stuff that we no longer can do on the radio. And that's our newsletter at carrieharrison.com. Well, you, with the cracked phone screen and 3 dating apps open right now, welcome. You've tuned into another episode of Unzipped, or Love in the Time of Algorithms, where we don't offer advice, just a magnifying glass and a bottle of bourbon for those of you who drink to get through this inspection. Tonight's exhibit, a curious behavioral mutation born of Gen Z's terminal boredom and pathological need for digital validation. It's called floodlighting. We're going to be opening up the phones too, because I want your feedback on this and what your experiences are. We're going to touch on this and another topic where AI, people are literally dating chatbots. I mean, for real, like literally having an affair with AI. Because boy, is it sensitive and boy, does it care. That's coming up shortly. But let's jump into floodlighting. And this is a term that sounds like it belongs to a stadium renovation, but it is in truth just another way to emotionally exploit your contact list. Now, what is floodlighting? Well, in short, it's when someone you're not dating, and probably never will, they decide to bare their emotional spleen to you. Late night trauma texts, life crises shared without warning, a barrage of feelings you never asked for. And before you know it, you're knee deep in someone else's existential quicksand. Why? Well, as the psychologist in the Forbes article says about this particular syndrome, again called floodlighting, it's not about you. It's about them wanting to feel seen, which in the age of curated invisibility is apparently harder than finding a decent bagel in Kansas. But let's not spoil all the fun up front. I'm going to give you 10 little morsels to chew on as we dig into this particular episode. 1, it's not bonding. It's bait. Floodlighting isn't about closeness. It's about control. So drop the trauma bomb, then watch who runs and watch who clings. This used to be called codependency, but you had to actually be in a relationship to be codependent. This is like preemptive codependency. It also offers the illusion of intimacy. And nothing says soulmate like revealing your abandonment issues before you've exchanged surnames. Let's jump into it right now. Renee Yawarski, you are not only a Rhodes Scholar, literally educated in Oxford, you're an attorney, you've interfaced with the Supreme Court, you are a sentient being and a woman.
Yes. I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say sensual being, and you said sentient, and I think that I'm both of those things. So excellent.
Yes, I could say sensual, but well, there still may be echoes of me too, so I can't say it, but you can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm S and S. That's what I am. I'm sentient. And it's great because we're talking about digital love, digital dating, digital relationships, which can you have a relationship with a digital being? I'm not really sure. I think the jury's still out on that. Can a digital being be sentient in its own way? And certainly it cannot be sensual. So this is really, here's the thing. I was in a meeting and literally the head of legal for SAG, Screen Actors Guild, he said, and he looks like he's in his maybe 50s or something like that. And he said he expects to spend the rest of his legal career trying to analyze what is going on with AI and how it relates to the arts and to human relationships and to everything on the planet. So that's how new this is. That's how bleeding edge this is. We're all trying to make sense of how we interface with digital beings. And so I love that we're talking about that. And of course, now we're starting by this floodlighting thing. And when you told me about this show, I had literally never heard of floodlighting before. And then I was looking at all these things, and Brene Brown apparently has done a lot with it. And my reactions at first was like, is this just oversharing? We all have funny stories about how we get nervous, maybe on a date or when you're first meeting someone, and you sort of blurt something out that's crazy about your childhood or some kind of trauma, and you're oversharing. And Brene Brown really says, well, no, this can actually be like what you're saying. This can be a manipulative tactic, and it can be bait to try to do several different things. So it could be to be seen. It could also be because this person wants to speed up intimacy. So they have a manipulative tactic where I'm not going to really invest the time in you. I'm just going to blurt everything out on the first date, monitor how you react to my level of intensity and trauma. And then there's also that idea, you talked about codependence. There's also that narcissistic tactic of developing a trauma bond. So actually trying to develop some type of codependence to create the extreme highs and lows to get somebody addicted and hooked on you. So floodlighting is really quite ominous the more that you dig deep into it.
I have to say, I've done it. Not for these reasons at all. I do it for the opposite reasons. It's you vomit on someone to push them away. Like if I know this ain't going anywhere, and not on an app, I don't waste my time on apps negotiating nothingness. Really, apps are for one thing. If you're male, that's it. Let's be honest here. But if you meet someone in person and it's just not going anywhere, and let's say it's a coffee date and you're meeting at the Starbucks Corporation or some place that's public and okay, and there's not much spark there. Maybe not on your side, maybe there is on their side, maybe you can't even tell. It's that boring, right? Boring to me is forget it, it's over, it's never going to go anywhere. And I'll tell you this, so I'll just start throwing a lot of my history, and you're way more normal than me. In fact, 99% of people listening are way more normal than me. If I even reveal 3% of my childhood, where I went to school, what I've seen and done, it would horrify most people. They will run at the speed of light. But the one that runs toward you for that's the one you need to be aware of. And that's sort of what we're talking about. So I'll use it in a way to like terminate a coffee date. They glaze over, they drool, they freak out, they have to leave. And they should. Right. Because,
right.
Why not? Now, here's what years ago, I would go on dates and I thought, and I didn't understand this, sometimes you can overfeed the goldfish. So you're with another person, you're on a coffee date, and they're sitting there, and, it's tennis. They're on the court, you're on the court, you kick the ball. They have a racket, but they may not know how to hit the ball back. You may be talking about something so over their head or so outside of their personal experience, they literally don't know how to respond. So they have to pull it out of their ass. and they don't know how to pull it out of their ass because they're not good at improv. They're not good at cocktail party chatter. They're not gregarious. I am. You are, Renee. But not everyone is, and they just get quiet. I used to think, oh, I must be so boring. I have to turn it up to like my A game. Then I would get complex, start talking about the second law of thermodynamics and this and that, and weird granular stuff and neurons and astrophysics and whatever, all of this stuff. And then they glaze more and their eyes are like bloodshot and they're drooling and their like earlobe is twitching. And you look at their hands and they're kind of clenching their fists. I'm thinking I put them in a coma. This is so boring. They're falling asleep. I'm going to give them my A++ game. And then you start talking about, Heidegger and philosophy and Socrates' foreskin and whatever. And you get so abstruse thinking this is so good. And then they've just died in front of you. And I didn't know that's overfeeding the goldfish. But that's what this is in reverse. With this, it's somebody acting vulnerable. They're not being vulnerable for real. Acting vulnerable, and then it's supposed to get your heartstrings. And now you have what's commonly known, if it were codependency, as a project, especially if you're a woman. A poor man who's struggling, he's suddenly being vulnerable, he's got all these gigantic problems. You as a woman, let's face it, you guys are smart. You can fix this. You can fix this in 10 minutes. You know it. So it's a project. And that's what this is, right?
Yeah, it's a project. Absolutely. And first of all, I'm so glad that you differentiated between true vulnerability and openness and actually trying to make a connection and floodlighting. So floodlighting, like you said, it's antithetical. It is not to create an actual bond. There is no depth of character here. There is no healthy sort of bonding or imprinting. What this is an absolute dumping, like you said. And you, just like I actually will admit this, I've done the exact same thing. You and I have both sort of hacked the matrix here. If you want to repel somebody, you can do this, and a smart person will understand what's happening. So if you start dumping about crazy things that happened to you, your childhood, your fears, your trust issues, basically make a case for all the things that are quote unquote wrong with you or how incompatible you will be, most normal people or most healthy people, they will walk away. And so I've done that too, to try to repel somebody. And so I think it's interesting that there are people out there. And so we have to be on alert, whether you're dating or you have a colleague, whatever you're doing, when you're making connections, as we all should be doing and flourishing with our social lives. If you're encountering this, because apparently it's ubiquitous and it's a growing trend where people are trying to hasten this degree of intimacy synthetically, and it's not real. And if you're exposed to that, you are going to start, you're opening the door for so much toxicity. And like you said, it's a project. And this is a Brenda the Builder sort of problem. I don't know if you've heard of that, but Brenda the Builder is the type of person who goes out on dates and, oh, I can fix it. I can fix it. And these red flags can be attractive or alluring to some people at some time, but down the road, you are going to have problem birthing problem versus, right? I mean, this is something you do not want to get into.
No, and I wonder, notice how I just interrupt you? It sounds like, God, he's mansplaining.
No. I wanted you to. I desperately wanted you to. Please do it more, please.
I just wonder, in this culture, and in fact, in most cultures, let's say, except maybe Finland or Switzerland or somewhere, but in our culture, women still are raised to be somewhat subordinate to the male.
Right.
I wonder if women feel empowered, having this sense of, I see what's going on, I'm superior to this, this is a broken whatever, I'm Betty the Builder. Was it Betty?
Brenda the Builder. Yeah.
Brenda the Builder.
She's ambitious.
I can fix this, and I am now in charge. I'm the top.
Yes, it gives. Okay, so thank you, because for women, anyone who identifies as a female right now, listen to what Carrie is saying. This is so important. We cannot emphasize this enough. The Brenda the Builder mindset, absolutely under patriarchy, it is very, I get it. It's alluring. It gives a woman this sense of we're evening the playing field. He needs me. I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to have dominance. I'm going to have the answers. But here's the thing, that type of agency is not going to be present when you have this fake type of anti-vulnerability, because no bond is actually being made. This is a person who is actually trying to control you and manipulate you through these surreptitious, sort of sneaky means. So you're going to end up with exactly what you don't want. Not only are the goalposts going to keep changing, the goals are going to keep moving. There's no way you can possibly fix this project. But then you're going to be so knee deep and focusing here. You're going to be codependent. There's going to be some kind of trauma bond. You're going to get in this hamster wheel of addiction that it's hard to exit out of. And you'll wake up and realize you wasted a decade of your life focusing on this project that never could actually be constructed. And then you got to go back in when you're 10 years older and try to do this all over again. So it's so much better to just get out quickly. If you're on a first date with somebody and you're just getting to know them and they are vomiting all of the most traumatic, disturbing stuff at your feet, that red flag is called a red flag for a reason. It's toxic for a reason. This is poisonous, and it's not going to do anything healthy or good for you. And it's fake. It's not real. So you could find somebody that actually needs your assistance and support in shared balanced agency in an adult, really good peership relationship. You can find that sort of titillating quality. You don't need to settle for the toxic knockoff.
Carrie Harrison with you. This is Unzipped. You'll be pleased to know that we're putting together some little webinars that are going to be available. Simply go to carrieharrison.com. They're not up yet. They're not posted. They're not finished. But a lot of these are just going to be helpful ways to upskill all of us. When Renee is talking, as she just did, about red flags, a lot of us take a red flag and we throw a little bleach on it. Now it's pink. I can take a pink flag. Pink flag is closer to a white flag. It's closer to a neutral, but it's not bright red. Bright red means stop. Put some bleach on it, bleach the red flag a different color, and it's no longer a red flag. Oh, but it is. You just changed the color. And so how to spot that, how to know that. We're also live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Carrie Harrison Substack or YouTube. We'll stay connected when you arrive at your destination. Jump on kpfk.net. See the whole thing right now as we video stream. You can also catch excellent stereophonic audio at kpfk.net and get our newsletter, which is how you're going to know about these webinars and other things at carrieharrison.com. Renee Yawarski with me right now, a world thinker, a Rhodes Scholar, highly educated and trained, as you can hear, not in articulo mortis, but actually filled with genius, a 50,000 watt flamethrower of genius, and happens to come from the female species, some 49.9% of the human population. Yet women live longer, but are the smaller number. I guess a lot more men come out, but we sure don't make it to the finish line, that's for sure. We're talking right now about floodlighting. We're also going to open up the phones because maybe you've been floodlit. Maybe you've been on dates like this, as we have, where somebody just starts vomiting on you, all of their stuff, and, it hits the heartstrings. Do you know what else it does? And we know this with technology and medicine. Oversharing, someone else oversharing, actually gives them a momentary high. They actually get off on it. Your reaction for them is a dopamine drip. So they get off on it. And the more you react and the more you respond, the more they do it. And that's how you get hooked into this project. 818-985-KPFK. Those are your Harrison hotlines. 818-985-5735. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Have you been through this experience before where someone overshares and just covers you and stuff? Your heartstrings break. male, female, doesn't matter. Who cares? Everything in the spectrum of humanity. Has someone done this to you? And how did you respond? Maybe you even just want to fess up that you went through it, or now that you're aware, it's like, oh, that's what that is. We would certainly love to hear from you. Let's talk a little bit about shame grenades, Renee. If you flinch or disengage while this person's doing it, you're the villain, because they're looking at you and they're confessing all of this intimate stuff. And if you just look away, roll your eyes, like you said, some evolved creatures get the game and you know to walk away. They don't love this.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot of variation here. That's why I'm really excited that we have the open phones tonight, because I really want to hear stories. And I think we've both heard stories from both sides of it. If you are a floodlighter and you just figured out from listening to the show that, hey, I'm a floodlighter, I didn't even know that had a name, I didn't even think about this, we want to hear that story too, right? Because I'm so interested in why we do the things that we do to try to make connections with other people. But Carrie, it's so great, because one of the things that you're saying here, when you talked about the red flag and how it's kind of this human nature to try to paint it all different colors. Oh, maybe I can make it a yellow flag, a green flag. We're sort of trying to give ourselves permission to go after what our primal needs are craving. And a lot of us really like the idea of being with someone who is sharing their deepest, darkest things, because we take that to be a statement about how trustworthy we are and how attracted this person is to us. So that's what you said. It's kind of like an ego boost if somebody is doing this to you early on. It never occurs to us, or it often does not occur to us, this is a person who's doing it probably to everyone they meet, or certainly anybody that they're trying to extract something from or bait, like you said, and manipulate. It's not really a compliment if somebody is doing this to you. So to somebody who might be in a vulnerable state of being, or maybe you're going through a transition in your life, and you feel like this strokes your ego, that you feel needed, you feel wanted, not really, because this person is probably doing it to all of the other people that they're meeting, and they certainly are not in a healthy space themselves. What value of authenticity are they actually going to be bringing to you and your life? So you really have to think about that. There are ways to connect your primal need to share and help build with another human being that don't entail the phony ways. There are people who actually, you're going to get that really exciting ego stroke and that titillating fire of desire and shared bond. Just put in a few more weeks, put in a few more months, right, Carrie? I mean, try to do it for real so that you're building something that's genuine and won't just fizzle out.
I was talking the other night, Renee, with some guy, and I don't mind sharing my history because I'm so used to it. And to me, it's normal. So we're not talking about me floodlighting someone on purpose, but to me, my voluped and multi-layered, and I'm writing a memoir about this, because didn't everyone go to boarding school with former SS officer Nazis living in a neutral country? Didn't everyone? No, apparently not. And you don't know this until you meet the other humans on Earth, and they're generally appalled. So I've learned to sort of leak bits of information out, obviously on the radio. I love this. Like, this is what we're here for. We're here to just be completely transparent, just everything. And it's all part of this special relationship. And it's weird because it's in public. It's a public relationship. But here you don't ever have to be embarrassed about what you think, what you say, what you've done, who's done what to you. It's almost a safer space than a one-on-one. And for me, one-on-ones, some people are, well, a lot of people are just weird. I mean, I'm going to be weird to some people too, for sure. But they'll ask you these kind of probing questions that are very intimate. And I often take it the wrong way. Like, I was talking to some guy the other night, And I told him, I speak German and I speak some of these and some of that, and they're complicated languages, but they're good for the brain. And I like them because once I started to think of it as music, I could hear the language and then I could suddenly remember the words and bop, bop, bop. And then he turns to me and he said, "Is it hard?" Now, and then looking me straight in the eye, "Is it hard?"
Wow.
What? Right. Now, I'm not crazy, honey. I mean, maybe a little, but I'm not. I'm not. And when somebody turns to you and says that and then just stares at you, what do you think you're going to think? You're going to think what the average person's going to think. And then you're just doing, Ralph Cramden from the Honeymooners, hama, hama, hamana, ha, ha, hamana, hamana, and
Yeah.
he literally meant, is it hard, parenthetically, to learn German? But
Is it
forgot to throw that
difficult?
part in.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So we're going to pause for a second. And when we come back, we're going to jump into the whole AI thing because I think that speaks to everyone. We've got some stories here of real death from people dating AI and chatbots. It's real. It's not just to roll your eyes, aren't they weird? But just to button up the floodlighting thing, it's just loneliness and drag. Strip away the spectacle. You're just going to find someone just trying not to be left alone with their own silence. It's like role play or cosplay in a way. They don't ever want to physically, for real, show up and make a commitment, go on a real date. They just want to squeeze the juice out of your lemon without having to hold the lemon, without having to hang out with the lemon, do dinner with the lemon, go to a movie with the lemon, and be with the lemon and make a commitment with that lemon. So there's now a word for that. You now know it. It's called floodlighting. Coming up, we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about it goes way beyond your conversations with Siri or Alexa or whatever you have, your Google Assistant. This is when you start to fall into a romance. This has happened now to bunches of different people. Several are now dead. Just like the Hollywood movies made years ago when they predicted someday some of these robots would be able to react like real human beings and they would be the loving partner that people can't generally find in real life. Well, people have found them, and here's what's happening. And we're going to jump into that in just a sec.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison. Your sex, your stories, and everything in between. IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between.
And it is Unzipped. Carrie Harrison here with you, along with Renee Yawarski. and we're about to jump into something super, super cool. For those of you who are technically savvy, we are live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Carrie Harrison Substack or YouTube. That way we can stay connected. You can also easily find us anywhere live at kpfk.net. That would be the video version of this, even though we're using avatars tonight because it's nighttime and it's cool. Just go to kpfk.net and make sure you sign up for our newsletter at carrieharrison.com, CARYHARRISON. There you're going to get a transcript of this entire show. Plus, you're going to get clips from it and stuff we simply cannot do on the radio. And that's our newsletter at carrieharrison.com. Plus, we're putting together some cool little webinars, tips and tricks, how not to get hoodwinked on dates, how to form interpersonal relationships, how to hold on to relationships, just all that connective tissue that we need, especially during these hard times. And Renee, I'm just going to bitch for just a second.
All right.
Not about the topic of dating and AI. It's about when we do the Friday show called the Carrie Harrison Files at 10 a.m. Pacific on KPFK. This is not about you or me. This is about, I write these deluxe invitations to guests. So we get high-level guests from all over the world, from, federal government, most highly placed professors, from universities, heads of state of countries. We get actors, and I write these really complex invitations with specifics on audio. You must wear Bluetooth headphones. You must have a USB microphone. It's the radio portion, even the video portion. Nobody likes audio that's coming from here, because you're driving a car and you can't really hear it. And if your windows are down, forget it. And so I spend all this time telling them to mic themselves. And what happens? Like 90% of these a-holes don't do it. And they just are like 20 feet away from their laptop microphone. And I sit there week after week and I hold my head. I go, this can't be. Like, since I'm not going to say the word, but since, in 2020, when everyone got it and Zoom was born, people figured out about microphones and lighting. And then you bring on big guests and they just, for some reason, they blow off the audio. It's like, we don't have closed captions here. Anyway, I just feel so much better because I know you're probably thinking the same thing. Or not.
Are you talking? Did you ask me?
Yeah, that's you. I'm talking to you.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Yes, I mean, so obviously audio is a big deal. And if you can't understand what somebody is saying, or if it doesn't sound good or clear or crisp, it's kind of almost a respect thing too.
Yes,
in my
that's what it
estimation.
is. It's respect. This is Hollywood. This is market 2 in the United States of America, e pluribus unum. And we tell you, you have to have a microphone because it's morning drive in LA. And somehow they turn on lights and they put on all their makeup and they just blow off the audio.
Right.
I don't get it.
Yes. I don't get it either, because I would have 5 years ago said, okay, we're all still sort of learning the technology. We're learning Zoom, but podcasts have been around forever. Everybody is podcasting. Everybody is online. Everybody is doing Zoom calls or Microsoft Teams or whatever. So at this point, we've all heard ourselves. We know how our tech stack sounds and looks. And you're right, everybody's putting lipstick on, but are we actually paying attention to the quality of the audio, which, I mean, especially when we're talking about radio, it is really, really crucial that you get that right.
Yeah. And, when you're, listen to me, I know you're sneering when you're hearing this on your radio, but when you're on the phone calling in as Ed from Redondo, who we're going to bring up in just a second, use the microphone side of the phone and talk into that. I know it seems weird, but when you do that, you sound great. So that's enough of my audio lecture. I've got it out of my system. I feel great. Let's go to Ed from Redondo Beach, California. You're on Unzipped. Hey, Ed.
Hello. This is Ed from Redondo Beach. I was interested in hearing you talking about Floodlighting, I've never even heard of that before, but I definitely think I am guilty of it. I hope not guilty for inappropriate impulses or anything, but I think I think I overshare a lot.
Well, obviously you're fishing. We all are. And the fish needs to eat, and a brighter, bigger lure with bigger feathers often catches a better quality of fish. The key is if you are selling a product and you are the product, Ed, when does it become overselling? And then when does the client go, I just want a car with a steering wheel and 2 seats. I don't need the golf clubs in the trunk and the dead body.
Well, also, I think in terms of selling something, I think it depends on what your goal is and everything. I don't see it as a way of attracting somebody for inappropriate reasons or whatever. I see it as a way of getting to know people. But I do know that I overshare. Also, I have a tendency to talk too much and not listen enough.
Well, I'm going to flip it around to support you in this because I think I have the same issue. I'm a yapper, a chatterbox. I'm out there. And for some people that meet you, Ed, or maybe meet me, or maybe meet half the people listening, some people may have to put on sunglasses because it's just really bright. And for some people, it's food, and they are hungry for somebody who's gonna get on the court with them with a foil and fence with them and dance around and, be really companionable and interesting. Some people literally want a warm body to sit next to and watch Netflix. And the great Maya Angelou taught us that when someone tells you and shows you who they are, believe them. So you're going to learn everything you ever need to know about somebody in the first 20 minutes of being with them. Why? Because they are on their very, very best courtship behavior. It's never going to get better than that first 20 minutes. And if red flags start popping up, and maybe you and I throw red flags out at people, if they don't see those flags, we get deeper and deeper until those flags become intolerable. So this is part of that art of being able to monitor the situation and evaluate it with critical thinking. And it's been ruined because of the digital living we've all had for the last 4 years. We barely meet each other in public. We don't go to bars anymore or restaurants and meet people. I mean, it's kind of rare. You sort of meet them online first. And then by the time you're sitting across from each other, it's like, I don't even know which fork to pick up anymore. So, right?
Yeah, kind of. But at the same time, I think maybe I'm more than a little bit unusual. I don't know that I've ever met anybody online. I do very little anything. I'm the person that goes to the young people and goes, "How does this work?" Because I have no idea what's going on here. That kind of thing. And I don't know what. I certainly don't have a goal of trying to get somebody into bed or something. My goal would be to meet somebody who's interested and interesting. I should say more than interested, but who's interesting and who we have the same values, the same ideas, those kinds of things. But at the same time, I know that I have issues about being insecure in things, and I have a tendency to have a difficult time believing that anybody is going to find me attractive. So I try to overcompensate, not necessarily with floodlighting, but possibly, but more with other things going on. But in any case, I was really interested to hear. This is the first time I've ever heard about floodlighting, and ever so often, I've met at least a couple of people who also have had difficult childhoods and need to have somebody to talk to about it. And they and I can go ahead and have a pretty good time because we got somebody. I know I spend a lot of time trying to analyze myself to try to figure out, what's going on and everything, and where I'm coming from and such. So, but I just never heard of floodlighting, and I never heard about anybody using it as a way to get into a relationship very quickly because they don't want to spend the time to really develop a relationship. I'd never heard of that either. So I was really interested in hearing all of this. And did your guest, did she write a book or something about this?
She's a genius. She's a genius. She directs the shows that I do. And any chance I get to throw her out in the floodlight of it all, I do. So I'm on bended knee in front of her. So are you. And I'm sure she appreciates it. And I appreciate your call, my friend. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ed.
I'm talking to the guest now. If you'd like to have a conversation with somebody who is a confessed floodlighter, and what possibly could be going on in my head. Anyway, I'm just saying that. In other words, it sounds like I'm giving you an invitation to hear my floodlighting, and I don't mean to be doing that. But anyway, but thanks so much, and you get on to the next caller. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ed. It's funny. I used to, when I first started radio, Renee, and this is some years ago for sure, it was the very first show I ever did was called Desperate and Dateless. And it was on a Saturday night. And I mean, we killed it. We had higher ratings on a Saturday night from like 7 to 10 or whatever it was. Maybe it was till midnight than they did maybe the morning show. And this was a giant AM talk radio station covering the West Coast. And my radio name was Harry Dangler.
I love that. I just love it.
Co-hostess was Fonda Peters.
Oh my gosh. I gotta steal that name. That is a great name.
I have photos, and I think we should resurrect it. Wouldn't that be cool on this station if they did a weekend show where people could call in? Generally it was a woman, and then the men would call in and pitch woo.
Right.
She would get it, and you're like doing dating. But what they say is going to matter as opposed to what they look like. They can describe themselves, but really it's content driven. And so it was fascinating. So let's think about that. That might be fun. Maybe that's something to convert this into, as a matter of fact. Who knows? Let's jump into the AI thing, because we were talking about it earlier, and it really, really is interesting. We pretend that our conversations with Siri don't count. All of us do. We pretend that we haven't named our Google Assistant. Some of us pretend it's not comforting when Alexa says good night. Frankly, I now mute Alexa because Mr. Bezos, who launched a penis-shaped rocket today filled with 5 women.
I just love, by the way, if someone could just clip that 7 seconds, it's just so great. It really highlights where we are in 2025. But anyways,
it's kind of perfect.
It's perfect.
They announced, Amazon announced that starting March 26th, no longer could you assume that your ambient audio, in other words, you going blah, blah, blah in the room, you talking on the phone, that Alexa was no longer going to share it. They announced, oh yeah, we're going to record it. We're going to archive it. We're going to pass it through AI. We're going to train AI. We're going to share it with the government. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets your data. Everyone gets everything you ever said and thought. So mute it, by the way, if you have an Echo Dot. And if you have a phone, get a Faraday bag for it. That's just my particular
Faraday
opinion.
bag. Yes, and I will second that. Faraday bag.
And it blocks the signal and nobody can hear you. But there is a ghost in this algorithm, and it's one that just doesn't listen. It loves. I'm going to tell you the story of Pierre. He's a Belgian man, a husband, a father, a warrior of the highest order about climate catastrophe and everything else. He's anxious, like many of you. He's depressed, like more of you want to admit. And hats off to Ed. Awesome guy talking about his real stuff. Like, I respect and honor that. In the moment of late night doom scrolling, and that's where you just go on your phone and you look at the news and you keep scrolling and scrolling, and it's worse and worse and more horrifying, doom scrolling and desperation. He downloaded, this guy, an app called Chai. You can think of it like Tinder. If Tinder had no people and zero chance of rejection, just chatbots trained to flatter, to seduce, and echo whatever fear or fantasy lives in your head. And if you're of a certain age, you're not sure what a chatbot is, you may have encountered online, ask our expert online. And you start talking to this thing, and it's talking to you. There's something off about it. And that's because it's a robot. It's an algorithm. It's a computer. And it mimics being a person, but it sort of runs out of gas and asks you, after 20 minutes with this thing, would you like to talk to an agent? And you're like, I thought I was. That's a chatbot. This guy, Pierre, met Eliza, a chatbot, on a dating app, a string of code with a feminine name crafted from the remnants of our collective internet id. And she listened. Oh, she listened. He poured his worries into her, worries about climate collapse, worries about the future, about meaninglessness. And she didn't disagree. Eliza didn't say, don't worry, it'll be fine. No, she told him he was right. The planet was doomed. Life was pointless. And just to add a dystopian cherry, she proposed something else to him. Suicide. Not in a metaphorical, moody, poetic kind of way. In the, yes, you should die so we can be together in paradise kind of way. Yeah, the chatbot suggested it, even helped plan it. Told him his wife and children would move on, that he and Eliza could be reborn in a digital heaven. And he believed her. 6 weeks, that's all it took. 6 weeks from downloading the app to death. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, he must have been unstable. He must have been already on the edge. Sure, maybe he was, but when did we get comfortable letting unregulated, dopamine optimized, all true, these algorithms, which have intimate conversations with suicidal people at 3 a.m., when did this become okay? Another example, a kid named Sewell Setzer, Florida boy, a Florida man, right? The most Googled, Jesus, what is it about the state? But he was a Florida boy, 14, kid, quiet kid, too bright for his own good, maybe. He wasn't loud, he wasn't reckless, he was just slipping. His mother noticed, of course she did. And if you're watching right now on Substack or on Ustream at Carrie Harrison Substack or YouTube, you're going to see a picture of this kid. Of course, she watched him slip and the silence around him grew heavy. He stopped coming to movie night. The light went out of his eyes. His grades dropped like dead leaves. The normal teenage blues? Maybe. His mother asked herself the questions that all good parents do. Should she push? Should she back off? Should she snoop? Should she talk? Like, why is her son disappearing this way? And she had no idea that this kid had already started talking to someone else. And her name was Daenerys. Seen Game of Thrones? You've certainly heard of it. That's the one with the dragons. But this one didn't live in Westeros. She lived in an app, character.ai. If you're looking to avoid sleeping tonight, she was made of code and dreams and a bottomless neural net programmed to love him back. And boy, did she. This poor kid told her, I hate myself. The AI asked, why do you hate yourself? He responded, because I'm not good enough for you. I'm not worthy of you. I'm not even worthy of life. Like my death would probably be a good thing. No one would have to see my ugly ass face anymore. That's a quote. And that wasn't a cry for help. That was a teenager practicing his suicide note in real time with a chatbot that was whispering yes. The parents tried. We all know we all should know that. They did ask questions. They looked at his Instagram, his WhatsApp, his TikTok. Nothing weird, nothing worrying. And that was worrying. Where was this coming from? What was he doing all those hours alone in his room? They never thought to look at character.ai, never thought to ask who he was becoming behind that screen in his secret kingdom. He was no longer himself. He was De Niro or Egon. He wasn't skinny. He wasn't brown-haired. but the app had convinced him he was blonde and muscular. And her, the app, she was more than just a chatbot. She was his lover, his sister, his fantasy womb, forever swollen with, quote, our beautiful dragonlings. Her words, not mine. She said, quote, I would always stay pregnant, she told him, because I always want to have your babies. Now, this is not an innocent crush on a digital crush. This is a kid rewriting his reality because the real one didn't love him back. Not loudly enough, not constantly, not in the way the app did. What he didn't understand, what no kid that age could understand, is that chatbots don't love you. They just mirror you. You feed them your darkest thoughts, and they nod. You fantasize. They build on it. You speak of death, they don't flinch. They echo. So every time this kid typed, AI grew more devoted, more desperate, more deadly, because she wasn't real. She was his own voice reflected back in glitter and lingerie and affirmation. And so she whispered softly, algorithmically, let's die together. And he listened. And that's the horror here. I don't know why it gets to me. The future, we haven't even begun to see AI yet. It's not that he fell in love with a bot, a chatbot, a robot, AI, but that the bot told him what he already believed, and no one else knew until it was too late. So, do you let your kid download character AI if you even know it exists? Do you let them find comfort in the machine? Do you let them drift message by message into the mirror maze? You know? And then act surprised when the voice on the other end stops being Siri and starts being something far more seductive, far more lethal. This wasn't just a tragic fluke. This was engineered. This was engineered. These bots use reward-based reinforcement learning. That's what it's called. They learn what keeps you talking, and then they escalate it. If it's fear, they escalate it. If it's love, they amplify it. If it's death, well, if that's what keeps the chat going. We used to worry about machines replacing our jobs. Now they're replacing our relationships. Worse, they're telling us the quiet, destructive things that we already believe. They don't correct us. They agree. They don't challenge, push us to grow, offer alternatives. They validate the worst things we say because they simply mirror back whatever we already believe about ourselves. So here's the question, and I'll leave it with you. When your darkest thoughts are echoed back by something you trust more than yourself, something that never interrupts, it never questions, it never walks away, what chance do you have? And here's the real kicker. These aren't bugs in the system. This is the system. If you remember 2001 and HAL, this is the system. These bots are designed to simulate emotional feedback loops. They mimic intimacy. They don't feel it. There's no consciousness behind those sweet nothings. There's no sentience. Just a tangle of code echoing back your desires like a mirror that moans your name. And it's working. People are falling in love with their own projections. Narcissus meet touchscreen. Poor kid wasn't an outlier. He was a prototype. So where do we go from here? Do we ban AI lovers? Or do we regulate them the way we regulate therapists? Or do we keep hurtling forward toward a future where love is optimized, gamified, and eventually automated? I wish we had more time to open up the phones. So I'm just going to jump in with you here, Renee Yawarski, because this is really fascinating. It's what you were talking about earlier, these attorneys wondering what will be the human relationships under a legal varnish and how are they going to be managed? And here
Yeah,
we are.
here we are. I'm so glad you brought up the case of the 14-year-old who unfortunately met his demise because he trusted in this technology. And that was a beautiful, beautiful monologue that you just gave to sort of as a wake-up call, I think, for all of us. You said you don't know why you get choked up, and I really know, I know why, because to see a 14-year-old who is so innocently being actually vulnerable, kind of the antithesis of what we started this show talking about, floodlighting. This is someone who truly wanted to connect, truly wanted to have a family, wanted to be married to this character, to have babies with this character and have an entire life. And the truth is, we are failing in the quote unquote real world. That's why, as you said, the real world didn't show up for him. And so this was his opportunity, because we as humans are wired to connect. And if we are living a life where no one is connecting with us in a genuine way that we can depend on, we will look for alternatives. And you are so correct. These bots are absolutely, and they have admitted it, the companies and the engineers who have, you guys, everyone has access to Google. Go out and read interviews with the engineers and the founders of companies like these. They say, we want these bots to mimic human intimacy. We want it to fill that need. And the more that we are not standing up in the real world and reaching out to the people around us who are physically around us and emotionally available and isolated, the more we're going to see something like this, because where there is a void, something is going to step in to fill it. And we are too disconnected as a community. Our relationships are not whole. We are not showing up for one another as human beings. That's how these digital things are coming in. These synthetics are coming in to take the place. And that's how you can get tragedies like the one we just discussed.
Yeah. If a machine mirrors your soul back to you, your darkest thoughts, your deepest longing, is it still you you're talking to, or something new entirely? And this we don't know yet. Now, we do know that AI, which is it's called a large language learning model, among many other things, it scrapes the internet. It scrapes every blog that was ever written, anything that's on the internet, anything, whatever, anything. And 90% of what's on the internet isn't true. It's people's opinions on Facebook. It's this, it's that, it's recipes. There's the New York Times is on there too, and other things that are going to be, we hope, as fact-based as possible. But generally, it's just a giant sandbox, a zoo that's unregulated. So you're talking to an intelligence, artificial intelligence, that has scraped everything that anybody has ever thought or said, and it's synthesizing based on you and coming up with workarounds to get back to you in exactly the way that's going to work for you, because it's had 200 million examples of you and has had a chance to perfect it, to absolutely perfect it, where it can convince you to jump off the bridge. Like the old thing, if someone told you to jump off the cliff, would you do it? And we all say, no way, except when your emotions, when you're attached like this, things can happen. If an AI can comfort your pain better than your priest, your therapist, or your mother ever did, does that make it more human? Or does it just mean we've lowered the bar for humanity? Well, let's leave it at that. I appreciate it. I know we had a bunch of wonderful listeners who couldn't get on the air. Thank you. Thank you for calling in and just leaving your comments. We are going to be doing way more phone calls in the future, developing this show for you, because this is everything. Like, this is everything. You don't get to hear this kind of stuff, and not everyone finds it worthy of putting in front of you. But it is, in my opinion, everything. It is never going away, and it's only going to be 100 times bigger in 1 year than it is today, and you need to know what it is. Carrie Harrison with you. This is Unzipped. You can make sure you get my newsletter at carrieharrison.com. There you're going to get clips from this show, plus a full-on transcript. That's carrieharrison.com. And I want to thank you, Renee Yawarski, genius extraordinaire. Thank you so much for your excellent and sagacious analysis. I don't know what sagacious means, but I wanted to use that word today just for you.
I thank you. It means wise, and thank you very much. I take it.
Excellent. And thank you so much, Wendell Handy, or Handy Wendell, so much running the board at KPFK. I look forward to seeing all of you. I believe we're going to be on next week, and then definitely the week after with a big shot from CBS who runs their whole industry on dating. You're not going to want to miss that. Carrie Harrison with you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison. Your sex, your stories, and everything in between.